Hello, everyone. Welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. And today, I'm going to take you through the two decks I won Infinity Conquest with. These are also likely the decks I'm going to start ladder with for the next season. Both should work and be able to get you to Infinite really quickly. I've also got a homebrew deck that I've been having a lot of success with that I'm going to share with you. But before we get started, I'd like to urge you to hit subscribe to the channel. We are giving away 15, you heard that right, 15 season passes. All you have to do is subscribe and comment to be entered to win. Winners will be announced September 15th for this giveaway. Every day that you are subscribed and you like and comment the video, you are entered for another chance to win. In addition, we are your one-stop shop for all your Marvel Snap needs. We make absolutely sure that you have at least two brand new interesting decks to play every single weekday. We include different replacements for each card so that if you are not game complete, you have options to replace the key cards with as best you can. So please hit that sub button. We will help you get to Infinite. We will help you get your Infinity Borders. We will help you succeed for all your Marvel Snap. Sorry. All right. The deck credits for the decks today. Fazer is the first deck. Fazer is over on Twitter at Fazer_snap and twitch.tv/FazerSnap. The other two decks are my own homebrews. Both of these are mine. You're on this YouTube. Hopefully, the fact that decks I'm making completely on my own are getting Infinity is an incentive to sign up. And I'm on Twitter at SnapJudgeCast, so make sure you check that out as well. Just so you know, my mascot this season was Sunspot. I had an 80% win rate when Sunspot was in my deck, and the most effective played card was Cyclops at an 82% win rate. That seems particularly relevant because the only deck all season I played these two cards in for more than a game or two. I definitely tried out the Leech double She-Hulk things, but I did not play more than like 5 games with it. The only game I played of any significant number that featured these cards is this one, the one I hit Infinity with. I had a 79% win rate in Conquest with this deck. It is stellar. So it's got Sunspot and Misty to gather power. It's got Jeff as a way to work with Jean Grey. This is ultimately a Jean Grey deck as much as anything. So it's got Jeff to pseudo fill a Jean lane. It's got Brood to actually fill a Jean lane. It's got Surfer to pump all the threes. It's got Cosmo to stop whatever your opponent tries to do in that lane. It's got Wave to lock your opponent into a single last turn play. Cyclops to punish them for playing in the lane. Evo to make Cyclops and Hulk worth it and Misty worth it. Leech to turn their nonsense off, and Hulk to get really big and make sure that you can win a lane even when they're committing to it, and then you just sort of win elsewhere. All right, Jeff can easily be Nightcrawler, but please note that as of you watching this, you can get Jeff from Spotlight Caches. If you want Jeff, now is the time. Hopefully you have 4 Spotlight Caches saved. Jean cannot be replaced. This is ultimately a Jean Grey deck as much as it is anything else. High Evo cannot be replaced. Jean and High Evo are the keys here. You would do better replacing the Surfer package, which I also obviously don't suggest. Leech, some people don't like running Leech. Leech can be either Doctor Doom or Absorbman. I suppose Leech can also be Claw. I haven't actually tried Claw, but I've tried Doom and Absorbman, and the deck runs fine. Leech auto wins you certain matchups, right? Your opponent is playing like a Sarah Surfer, and you just Leech, and there's nothing big. Their game is over. There's enough Surfer in the meta for that to really still have some value. I'd also like to note at this point, as we're talking about card changes, on my Infinite run, I beat the Meta Destroy deck, I beat the She-Hulk Evolutionary, I beat the Brood deck, and I beat a regular Surfer deck, and something else, who remembers what else. But, I beat all the meta decks on my way to Infinite, so this deck is perfectly capable of beating meta decks, although it has the worst matchup of those with the Brood Absorbing Man deck. I think I just sort of outplayed it. All right. You want to lock opponents into bad plays with Jean Grey, then shut them down with Wave and Leech, and then win with Surfer and Hulk. God forbid your opponent plays Magic without running. If they play Magic without running Leech, they're in a lot of trouble. Because your Hulk just gets so big, and you can Surfer and Hulk at that point, and they're just in trouble. So the first couple turns is Misty Sunspot, and then you can Jeff if you want. I would generally prioritize Misty, Sunspot. And then you play Jean in the lane that has one of them, and this is your first snap chance right before you play Jean. You should have some idea of what your opponent's playing by this turn. By turn 3-ish is when you can figure out what your opponent's playing. If you know what they're playing and you know that they're not going to like spread out so where Jean is useless, you drop Jean. Next up, you are choosing based on what they're playing, what you play. If you have priority and you know that they're playing ongoing stuff and you know that they're like going to have to rely on Doom to win, then you want to drop Cosmo. If you know they're going to try and fill that lane quickly, you want to punish them for it and play Cyclops. If you know it's going to take time but you're not sure, you play Brood and then you have the freedom to play. Brood, remember, is 6 power, Jean is 3. That's 9 right there, and then you can add another 8. So you get a 17 power lane with Surfer in that lane. At that point, you are waving or leeching on turn 5. Please snap before you play either. You are leeching if you're sure they don't have Infinite, if you know that they're going to want to try and combo off, if you know they're a Sarah deck, something like that. Wave will also shut those decks down. Wave does an absolutely bonkers job also. Oh, the other deck I beat was the stupid move, the Move Legion deck, the Lamby deck. This deck destroys that deck because like you're just taking away all their power. And then you wave release them, and then at the end of the game, there's like literally nothing they can do except be sad. Last turn, you decide between Hulk and Surfer. Do you need power to go wide? You play Surfer in a 3-drop, obviously, unless you waved. Or you just drop Hulk. It's ridiculous, the sheer amount of time that like you can win this with this deck with like one spot that has Sunspot and a Jeff for like 6 power, and then you drop Hulk in your Jean lane and you just dominate. Deck is super sweet. I really urge you to give it a try. You're gonna feel a little bad into that Brood matchup, but like it's not the end of the world. And like if you get priority early and you can Cosmo before you Jean and hit their Brood, whew, game's over. You win. Have fun. This is the deck one last time. All right, as I was getting ready to record this, I realized I had one Infinity ticket left. I did one more run with a deck I rebuilt yesterday. This is Sink in the Kitchen. It's 81% in Conquest for me this season. It's I built it like yesterday. I was writing the Sleeper Decks of the Week article for Marvel Snap Zone, and I was like, well, I had this weird version that had like Heimdall in it and didn't run. It had Heimdall and it had something else or another. Oh, Forge, and it didn't bother to run Deathlock or America. And I was like, this doesn't feel right to me. And I had my original version that I talked about forever ago that was running like Armor and Magic, and Magic is just too dangerous to run right now. I strongly urge you to not be running Magic. So I was like, what else can I do? I messaged 3 people. I messaged Den, I messaged Paper, and I messaged Educated Collins. And I'm like, hey, I need your brains to help figure this out. Basically, immediately, everyone agrees that like Deathlock needs to be in the deck. You need the 3rd kill because if you do a kill on Multiple Man or Human Torch early, you don't want to be screwed out of your Nimrod playline. You also have the so then we're like, all right, so Deathlock is there, and then it's like, all right, so what card goes with multiple of the playlines for this deck? And the only answer was Zola, because Zola on Nimrod is very often game winning, and Zola on Human Torch is very often game. Zola gives you, at the end of the game, if you've got one big card and you haven't seen another, a 50-50 chance of stealing a game, and if you're not favored in the matchup, that's very often enough. It also helps dodge Shang when you have priority, and they don't know what's coming. This deck steals a lot of 8 cubers as your opponent doesn't realize that your Human Torch is going to be 28 or to 56 power, and then you just sort of win. That's the end of that, right? Let's get to the play lines, because I think this deck is super sweet. This deck is probably better for Conquest than Ladder because of the danger of Killmonger. Once you know Killmonger's not in the deck, like I faced a couple decks that didn't run Killmonger or Shang-Chi, and I just basically made humongous Human Torches, and then I Zola'd them. Like I made giant Human Torches, and then I dropped Red Skull on 5, and then I pulled Human Torch into a lane alone, and I Zola'd, and I just said, good luck. You're not beating this. And spoiler, no one beat it. It is stoppable, right? Like you can get armored, you can get Cosmoed. Those are frustrating, but like they're not the end of the world because you have so many game plans. Like if they stop your Human Torch, they stop your Multiple Man kill, right? Like you still have a Nimrod in another lane. You go Shuri Nimrod in another lane, and then you're just fine, right? Like you might have to at that point try and Zola it instead of trying to Taskmaster it. That's your whole downside. And like then you're still taking a 50-50 of just straight up winning the game. Like that's really good rate for like your bad matchups. Okay. This is a Phoenix Force deck. You cannot play this version without the Phoenix Force. You can conceivably do a version that cuts either the Nimrod or the Red Skull package. That's what everyone else who ran this did. They ran either Nimrod or Red Skull. In fact, that's what Colin said to me. I was like, Collins, I'm winning a lot with this deck. And he goes, have you considered you're just good at Snap? I was like, perhaps, but there's still something to this deck. The Nimrod and Red Skull package both means you're never really left out of a great play. It means that like almost every game, you're going to have something to do. You might not have Nimrod though, and if you don't have Nimrod, add Armor and Heimdall, find a second cut, add Armor and Heimdall. Armor for late game to protect your Red Skull slash Taskmaster, and Heimdall because then you can do a little bit of extra with that move package since you don't have Nimrod. Works fine. Is it as good? Of course not. Oh, sorry. Without Nimrod, you're also cutting Zola. That's how you get these two cards. Armor and Heimdall. It's not as good. It's not as consistent, but it's still a powerful deck. There's a lot of powerful things this deck does. All right, turn by turn. Options is the name of the game. This is the Phoenix plan. You Human Torch a multiple man 1 and 2, and then you kill whichever. If they're a destroy deck, make sure that you kill multiple man, i.e., they are running Killmonger, unless they have already blown their Killmonger, right? Like, you want to make absolutely sure that you are killing your multiple man. Those 8 powers everywhere really add up if you're Phoenix forcing multiple man. If not, if they are not running Killmonger, have fun with Human Torch. He is going to get to 28 power in a normal game without any move locations. If there is a single move location and you can activate, he is going to hit 52, and then you want to play nothing else on turn 5 and then just play Zola or Taskmaster on turn 6. 256 power cards is going to win a lot of games now. If a normal no move location, you just move it, and then you play a big card. Usually that's Red Skull, sometimes that's Taskmaster, and then you move the card one more time and you play Zola or Taskmaster. Once in a while, with certain locations, with certain situations, like I had a Sinister London game that I won a bunch of cubes in, where my opponent was getting like a bunch of Hazmat-y Hulk stuff going, and what I did was I put through Shuri. I had my move stuff going, right? I had to move multiple men. I threw Shuri into Sinister London, and then I just dropped 1,000,000 power America in 2 locations. Won the game of Snap, right? Like it turns out that kind of thing is really, really. You don't always see the plan. I should have deleted Phoenix plan here. Excuse me. So you've Human Torch multiple man pass, then you Shuri and play Nimrod or Red Skull. If you play Red Skull, you're following it up with Taskmaster, Shock of Shocks. If you play Nimrod, you're trying to eat it twice with Venom Carnage. You're putting basically 24 power in 2 lanes that way, and more if one of them is Venom. It works great. It works really great. I really, really like if I get that Red Skull win or loss early. Sometimes they'll try and tee up that Shang the next game, knowing what's coming, and then you just drop a Nimrod and they give you the first move for yourself. At that point, you can just drop Zola. And remember, Zola is your backup plan for the Shuri stuff. If you are not sure about the matchup or you're staying in for low cube total, you want to, like, if you Shuri, Nimrod, and Red Skull, and those are the only 2 cards in a lane, feel free to just whip a Nimrod, an Arnhem Zola at the location. You've got a 50-50 of winning the game at that point. It's really decent odds. So there's a lot of ways to win. Everyone's running Armor, which really helps this deck out because it gives you that free Red Skull play and it gives you that free Zola play. All right. This is the deck one last time. Please feel free to check it out, give it a try. It is very, very strong. Again, these are the 2 decks, along with this next deck that is another homebrew that I am playing at the start of next season. Also, for anyone who doesn't know, the variants you see on screen are my variants. Unless, like, I'm doing 50 decks, I try and just, like, make all the decks with the variants I have, which means I still don't have a Venom variant, sadly. Hopefully I'll get one soon. Everything else is a variant I'm actually reasonably happy with for this deck, so that's pretty cool. Okay, this is my Surfhawk homebrew. I'm still messing around with the last 2 slots of this deck, but this deck is extraordinarily powerful. It struggles with Wave. If you don't know Wave is coming, Wave can beat this deck. I know what card will go in this deck eventually to counter Wave, but until Mobius comes out, Mobius will be in that Forge spot. Until Mobius comes out, I'm not sure what goes there. All right, so it runs Forge, Sabu, And Korg, Zabu, Rock Slide, and Darkhawk are a nice little package. They are your Darkhawk package. You can throw Absorbing Man into there because Absorbing Man as a 4-drop goes there. I don't think Wong is right. I really like Wong. I think Wong is super fun, and people aren't running enough Cosmo again. So I think Wong is really good, but not necessary. Um, Brood is amazing. You have a Brood Absorbing Man play. It's not your main play, but you have Brood Absorbing Man play. You have Rock Slide as a way to disrupt their draw. You've got last turn Surfer. If you've got Zabu and Sarah out, you've got last turn Surfer, Darkhawk, and then something else. I tend to prefer Juggernaut or Shadow King. This deck is awesome. It got me a gold ticket and got me to Game 4 of Infinity. It struggles with Wave. Like, until Mobius comes out, Wave is going to be a problem with this deck. But like everything else has been really easy, largely thanks to Shadow King making destroy Brood and everything else like just such an easy matchup. All right. So Zabu is the only Sire card here, but you're gonna need him for the deck. He is coming in 2 weeks in a Spotlight Cache, but like I strongly generally urge you, unless you want both he and Ravonna, both him and Ravonna Renslayer. And I don't know if you want Ravonna Renslayer. She's the card I'm least sold on for this month. Um, Unless you want both of them, I suggest use tokens on Series 4 cards. I'm not sure Wong is right. The card I'm most likely to replace Wong with is a nice simple Shang-Chi. But there is serious value to Super Skrull, Iron Lad, Stegron, and Captain Marvel. Super Skrull because a lot of the meta is running Iron Man and Patriot nonsense, and you get the pumps there too. Iron Lad for the same reason Iron Lad is in the Brood decks, because it's a great follow-up to basically any play in the deck. Stegron steals cubes for much the same way Juggernaut does. Juggernaut is often the MVP of this deck, basically saying, I don't have to commit heavily to this last lane and the last turn, because I'm going to just I'm ahead by a little bit, and I'm going to knock everything else away into my really powerful lanes. And like Captain Marvel is fine. I think she's an okay play. For Forge, Black Widow was what I started with here. Black Widow is actually great deck. Don't sleep on Widow. She's really powerful, especially if you can manage to play her and a 3 on turn 5. Like, it's really obnoxious into like wave players. Jeff is always great. Goose helps control the lane. You can always go Killmonger if you're going to add a 3. I suggest Killmonger. Scorpion is always a good shout, and Luke Cage if you're seeing a lot of high E. Again, that's Mobius and Mobius's slot. So like we're just sort of keeping the seat warm. Once Mobius is here, I think I'm replacing Wong with Iron Lad, but I'm not that super sure. Either way, this is the deck. It's real cool. All right. Your main strategy is to mess up their draw. Use Surfer and Darkhawk to win. You go Korg Zabu, then you go Brood or Rock Slide, then you go Absorbing Man, ideally to copy Brood or Rock Slide. Or you can, if you missed, like if you had Brood on Rock Slide, you go Rock Slide, and then and you didn't have Absorb Man. Next turn you go Brood with Korg or Rock Slide with Korg. You want a Sarah here, and then if they don't, if you think they're gonna wave, if they have wave, you want to drop Darkhawk. And finally, you want to close with these exact 3 cards as much as possible: Juggernaut, Shadow King, and Surfer. If Zabu and Sarah are out, Darkhawk replaces one of them. And that's how you win with this deck. It's so freaking strong. I wish I came up with this literally right before Doom was buffed, because Wave has been the only thing to give this any real trouble. Although I suppose Leech would too. But like, this is an extraordinarily. Here's the list one last time. Remember that Forge and Wong are swing positions. Everything else is like set in stone, but this deck is stellar. It's a really, really strong deck, and I think you should try it, especially if your pocket of the meta is not seeing a ton of wave. All right, I had 3 decks for you today. We're assuming a patch is coming later today. We are going to cover that patch on the Snap Judgments podcast. We've got Teddy Ninja, yeah, that Teddy Ninja, and Browday, Marvel Snap News himself, on the podcast. We are going to cover all of the patch news on that. So don't expect it on this channel. That'll be on the Marvel Snap Zone YouTube. And tomorrow morning, I'll be back with 2 brand new decks. I think I'm going to try and find you the Loki decks that hit Infinite the fastest. Hopefully you found enough value in this to subscribe. Hopefully you win one of the giveaways. Peace.